Okay, so today I fancy a Yorkshire pudding, and what better place to have it than the place that Yorkshire was named after, the city of York. So join me as I go for a Yorkshire pudding in York. Oh, yeah, it's not working. Hello. This is not working.
What time? You getting the 9:30 train?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Right, I think that's the second time that my code thing hasn't worked. It's useless. Okay, so I'm on the 9:30 train to York. It's a pretty quick trip, only about half an hour. I think it's probably the quickest journey that I've had on one of my food journeys. I'm not complaining though, it beats getting up at 2:30 in the morning, driving to Manchester Airport, getting a plane at 7. Speaking of which, let me know if you want me to continue those. Right, I've made it on the train. Let's head to York.
Well, good morning everybody, welcome on board this Northern service. This is the 9:30 departure from Leeds going through to York. This service calls only at Garforth and Church Fenton before arriving into York at 9:57.
And I've arrived in York. Time now is about 10 AM. So it's a pretty quick journey, less than half an hour. In fact, it's probably quicker to travel from Leeds to York than it is to go from one side of the city to the other in Leeds. Anyway, we've made it to York, so let's go get some Yorkshire puddings. So I have had a quick Google, and the places that serve a Yorkshire pudding, like restaurants, pubs, cafes, little bars, they don't really serve them all the time. They only seem to serve them on a Sunday, during a roast dinner with the meats, the veg, the potatoes and the Yorkshire pudding. In fact, the only place that I can find that does serve them is called the York Roast Company, which I've been to before, I think maybe a year or two ago, and I enjoyed it. And I've actually discovered that they have more than one location. So let's try out the other location and see if it's just as good as the other. And here it is, the York Roast Company. Got the meats roasting in the window, and then the menu outside. Let's check out the prices. Pretty decent. Let's head in and get ordering. And have my meal. Check this out. This Yorkshire pudding is absolutely huge. Have a look at the size of that. Let me give you a closer look at what I got. So this is the meal that I got. So normally you have everything together where you have the Yorkshire pudding on bottom and then the meat and the veg on top with the gravy poured all over it. But I got it separate because I want to do that by myself and show you each individual component of the meal. Plus, got a bit of horseradish on the side and a cup of tea. Let's dig in. Let's start off with a quick drink of the tea, and I think it's Yorkshire tea as well. Here it goes. Nice. Let's dig into the meal. The music is pretty loud here, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but let's start off with some of the roast potatoes. Check these out. Absolutely huge. Look at the size of that roast potato. You can see the herbs on it as well. A bit of a nice golden brown colour. Let's see how it tastes. Not so bad. In fact, it's actually a little on the dry side. So if you can have a look at that, it is fluffy. There is nice flavour. You can taste the flavour of the herbs and the roasted potato flavour, but a little bit on the dry side. Maybe it needs a bit of gravy. Okay, let's dip it in the gravy and see if that improves things. Here it goes. There we go. Roast potato dipped in gravy. A little bit gloopy too. Let's try it. Okay, so the gravy is pretty good. Nice meat flavour. It is a little bit of a gloopy texture, but not too bad. Next up, I want to go in for some of the beef. Now check this out. Got quite a lot. So, huge strands of beef. Let's try and cut into it with my wooden knife and fork. Not sure how this is going to work, but let's give it a go. Okay, so that kind of worked. I've cut it into a little bit of a smaller piece. Let's give it a taste. Again, it is a little on the dry side. So this beef, I noticed, wasn't the one that was in the window. This, I think, was kept warm underneath, and they brought this out and then put it in my meal. They didn't carve it fresh from the one on the window. Let's dip it in the gravy and see if that improves things. I think it probably will, because it needs it. There we go. Roast beef in gravy. Let's try it. Okay, so that makes it better for sure. It instantly improves it. The gravy adds the moisture. It adds an extra element of meaty flavour. And it just makes it better overall. Okay, I can't wait any longer. Let's go in for the main event. The giant Yorkshire pudding. Now have a look at the size of this. It's as big as my head. Let's rip off a piece to try. So you can hear the crispiness of when I rip it. I've got a nice piece of the edge. Let's go in for a bite. So I think that is a pretty good Yorkshire pudding. Pretty decent. I've got a nice crunch on the outside, a crispy texture. The middle is soft. It's not bad. Let's try it dipped in the gravy. Here it goes. Yorkshire pudding dipped in gravy. Let's try this out. Okay, yep, so instantly, again, the gravy saves it. It gives it the moisture that it needs and the meaty flavour too. This gravy needs to be on everything. I can see why they serve it all together with this poured on top. Maybe I should do it. But let's have another dip. The Yorkshire pudding in gravy first. Here it goes. Okay, let's go in for the combo bite. The ultimate bite of this meal. So I've got a bit of Yorkshire pudding on there, I've got the meat, I've the beef, the roast beef, the carrot and the potato. They're all a little dry on their own, but let's pour the gravy over the top, and I know this is going to help it. Check this out. Gravy pour on Yorkshire pudding roast dinner. Let's give this a go. Okay, yeah, so it's a decent bite with the gravy all over everything. This definitely needs to be poured. In fact, you probably need about 2 cups of this, because this is the saviour of the whole meal. It makes it so much better and less dry. In fact, I forgot the horseradish. Now let's do the horseradish bite. This, I think again, will help it, because I think this meal just needs moisture. Let's try out this beef in horseradish. Okay, yep, so this horseradish does have a bit of a kick to it. So a little bit spicy, kind of like a mustardy flavour, but a little sweet too. It's a decent horseradish. But this is what the meal needs overall. A pour of the gravy just all over everything. So all of the potatoes, the veg, the meat, and Yorkshire pudding too. If you come here, this pot of gravy is needed on every single bite. So yeah, this is how the meal is supposed to be eaten, and this is exactly how you should eat it too. So what was that meal like? Well, I don't normally like to be negative about a place, but that wasn't the best meal I've ever had. It was all just a little too dry. So the potatoes, they were really dry. I mean, if you didn't have the gravy with them, I don't think you'd be able to eat them. The inside was a little sort of hard and grainy, and yeah, just too dry. The vegetables, the carrots especially, they were really hard. So I think I've got a little clip here where I was trying to stab my fork into the carrots and they just didn't break apart. They were just so hard, and eventually I managed to get one onto the fork, but yeah, not that great. And the meat, that was a little dry too. So I was under the impression that I would get the fresh meat from the window, but I didn't. I got some meat that was kept warm under the counter, so I'm not sure how long that's been there, but yeah, a little on the dry side as well. So the gravy definitely needed. So what was the best thing about the meal? Well, I'm not too sure really. Probably the gravy and the Yorkshire pudding. So I'm not too sure if it's just the day that I went, the time, or the location. Because last time I came, it was at a different location, and the food was good. I liked it. The meat was nice, not dry. The potatoes were great as well, and so were the veg, nice and soft. And the gravy was good too. So maybe it's just the time that I came. Maybe it was the wrong time. So I'm not too sure what happened. Anyway, yeah, not the greatest meal I've ever had. Okay, so time now is about 12 PM. My train out of York is about 20 past 2. So let's go explore a bit of York before I need to get my train. And they've made it to York Minster, probably the most famous attraction in York. Is that real? What is this? it's fake grass. Let's get a selfie with it. Grass bear. It's a little spooky in here. And I've made it to the York city walls, originally built hundreds and hundreds of years ago to defend the people within the city and keep invaders out. It's pretty interesting. It must be a little strange living right next to the York City walls, because there's houses either side. You can really see how much the city has expanded from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, when it would have been just inside this little area. I like these corner watchtower areas because they give you a good view of the city, and you can really see on this section of the wall how high it would have been and how difficult it would have been for any invaders to try and scale the wall and get over into the city. Not really sure where I've ended up, but it's almost time to head back to the train station. But I think there's one more street I need to visit whilst I'm here. And here it is, the Shambles. Oh man, there's so many people here. So that was the Shambles, one of the best preserved medieval streets in Europe, dating back to the 14th century. Time now is about 10 to 2. My train out of York is at 20 past, so let's start heading back to the train station. Okay, so I am on platform 7, so let's start heading over there, get on the train, and then once we're back I'll give you a breakdown of the costs I've spent today. Okay, and I've made it on the train. Let's head back to Leeds.
Welcome aboard this Northern Service to Blackpool North. The next station stop is Church Fenton.
and I've made it back to Leeds. Let me give you a run through of the cost that I've spent today. So the cost of the return train journey cost £14.50, which I think is not too bad. But could it have been cheaper with it only being a 30-minute journey? Comment down below what you think. The cost of the Yorkshire pudding meal was £12.75, including the tea, which again is not too bad. So overall, a pretty cheap spend for the day. Okay, if you like the video, click on the thumbs up icon below and click on subscribe to come along for the next food journey, and I'll see you there.